Hi, this is Gary J. Tunnicliffe, writer and director and auditor of Hellraiser Judgment, and you are listening to Without Your Head.
Welcome to the station of decapitation without your head. I'm Nasty Neil, and I'm joined by Pinhead himself, Paul T. Taylor of Hellraiser Judgment. How are you doing?
I'm fine, Neil. I am happy to be here. Thank you.
I'm happy to have you here. It's very cool. So,
Cool.
First, it's going to be good. We'll talk about Pinhead. We'll talk about whatever you want to talk about. But, first of all, how did you get involved in Hellraiser Judgment?
I was sitting at home, and I got an email from my agent saying that the casting director wanted to put me on tape for the role of the auditor. And so I read the sides, and it was only being called Judgment at the time. It was a secret that it was a Hellraiser film. And I read his first line, and I thought, this is a Hellraiser movie. This is fantastic. I want this part. And then about 5 minutes later, maybe, I don't remember exactly if it was 5 minutes later or 5 days later, I got an email, just a private email saying, we also want to put you on tape for Pinhead. And I thought, there's no way I'm going to get that part. And then that lasted just a few minutes, and I looked at myself in the mirror and I said, no, this can happen. You're going to make it the best film audition you've ever done in your life. And that's what led to me getting the role. I just totally committed to it. The casting director is an acquaintance of mine who's cast me in many things over the years. I live in Dallas. He's in Oklahoma City. It's only a 3-hour drive. He came down. He put me on tape along with a lot of other actors, of course. And then a couple weeks later, I found out that I was playing Pinhead. It was really strange how quickly it all happened, and so surreal, because Pinhead is my guy. He's been my favorite 80s horror icon, ever from the first moment I saw that film, just because of everything he looks like and everything he represents. And, I had action figures and all that stuff, serious Hellraiser fan. So I think the universe just kind of said, okay, Paul, you've suffered in your life. You're looking for some film work. How's this? Okay. It's crazy, but it seems like it was really simple, that everything just lined up and it just came to me. So, it's a pretty simple story. Sorry, it's not I don't know how interesting that is, but that's basically how I got involved with the movie.
No, I think it's interesting. So did you actually do the audition for both roles then, for both Pinhead and the Auditor?
I did. I prepared both of them because, again, I thought I had a better shot at playing the Auditor because he's sort of a middle management weirdo, and I read the lines and thought, I can do something with this. This is perfect for me. People with as much power as Pinhead, with creatures, with characters with as much power as Pinhead has, I've played them on stage, but I had never played that level of power in a film, and so I didn't know what my shot was with that. So yeah, I prepared both, and I was very serious about both of them. I developed two very distinct characters, voices, ways of standing, and all that kind of thing. And I think I sat on a chair for the Auditor, and then just stood for Pinhead, because we don't see Pinhead sitting much.
Yeah.
Unless, of course, in Hellraiser Judgment, where he's contemplating existence or whatever. Yeah.
It's actually interesting you say that, because I think a lot of Pinhead in throughout Hellraiser is just like his presence, like just you see him and how he carries himself. So it's
right.
How do you? Because obviously it's an iconic role. So how much do you take from what's already been on screen? And obviously you don't want to just mimic someone else. So how do you come up with your totally own Pinhead?
Yeah, it's impossible to play a role the way somebody else plays it, and any actor who tries to do that is doomed to failure, because you don't have what that person has. You have your own qualities and your own experience and all that stuff. So I started out I already knew most of the Hellraiser films, and I had watched the first two a lot. So I went back. I got all of the DVDs I didn't have yet, and I just watched Doug Bradley for a couple weeks, just to soak that up, because I knew that I had to honor that history. I mean, if it wasn't for Doug Bradley, I wouldn't be talking to you right now. I owe him a huge debt of gratitude, because he's the reason Pinhead is the iconic horror. The iconic icon that didn't come out right, but anyway, so after watching those films for a couple of weeks, concentrating on his performance, director Gary J. Tunnicliffe and I agreed that it was time for me to just concentrate on my own thing. I continued to watch movies mostly. I just concentrated on very still, threatening horror film villains, not necessarily horror, but film villains with total evil in their hearts and vulnerability at the same time, because if you're human, you have vulnerability, and of course Pinhead was human. So, and I just believe in vulnerability. I think it's something that we have to have no matter what we're playing, because that's how we create empathy, that's how we relate to people, even if we're playing a monster who's forgotten he was human once, all that stuff. So, and then after, concentrating on watching other films and other film villains, such as Anthony Hopkins in Silence of the Lambs and Ray Fiennes in Schindler's List. Mm-hmm. Again, not a horror. I mean, you could call that a horror movie. I definitely think Schindler's List
real life horror
film in a way, yeah, which is much more terrifying to me. Human cruelty is so much worse than monsters. But anyway, after watching movies, I stopped watching films, and I just started concentrating on going into my own darkness and my own history with suffering and my own. What I really had to do was do my work so that I felt no fear whatsoever, because obviously Pinhead, or the Hell Priest to some, Pinhead to those who care, who want to die. Obviously, he has. I went off and then I forgot what I was saying.
You said no fear to play Pinhead. I think a lot of
no fear. Yeah. I had to. Pinhead has no fear, but an actor playing the Hell Priest might have some fear, and I just had to go to that really dark place, and I spent so much time in the literal dark, in my darkened house, in my dark, scary neighborhood, kind of ghetto neighborhood, where I wouldn't normally take a walk at night, and I started taking walks. I started smoking just so I could not only try to lower my voice, not realizing they were going to alter the Hell Priest's voice anyway. But I think it still helped me, because there's a darkness and a toughness and a I'm not afraid of death thing with smoking. I mean, that's kind of what it is. Like, come on, death, I dare you. Basically adopting a mantra. I am Pinhead. You can't fuck with me. I have no fear. That was because that's really where Pinhead is in Judgment, and probably in every film. I mean, that's who he is. He has all the power. He's not afraid of anybody, but Paul T. Taylor has some fear in his life, like most humans. Some doubts, some negative self-talk going on. I had to get that gone. And there was also a matter of me revisiting where I had been so a few years before that, when I had been thinking I was going to die because I had hepatitis C, and I was saving pain pills, I was going to kill myself, all this dramatic stuff, but to me, it was real at the time. Mm-hmm. Thank God I got cured. I mean, I was cured probably 7 years ago, but I revisited that place of suffering, because if you haven't suffered, I mean, truly suffered and been in that hell that we create for ourselves, then how are you going to play a character like Pinhead? I mean, I was lucky in a way that I went through that before I ever got the chance to play the Hell Priest, because having that history really helped me get to that dark place and understand what I was saying when I'm saying to Joe Field, how dare you use such a word? You know nothing of suffering. Let me show you, and all that stuff. It was very valuable. And if I had gotten the role when I was much younger and thought I was healthy and was took everything for granted, and male white privilege, all right, yeah, bring it. I had to. I mean, I'm saying that. I hope everyone knows I'm saying that ironically. Because I know that, I know it's a real thing. Yes. And so, yeah, it was basically connecting with the suffering I had gone through before in my life already, and with getting to that place of darkness and no fear whatsoever. That's basically what I had to work on. Yeah. And saying the lines over and over and over again, so that I had them in my head, so there was no doubt when we were shooting. And then, of course, the day before or the day of, you get lines that have been changed. You're like, oh, really? Okay. But, that's what you do. That's what we do.
Along with, you're talking about the suffering, and a couple years ago, I had emergency surgery. I spent 3 months in the hospital in rehab. It was very bad. So, I think, like you're saying, if you played it earlier, maybe you can just see the confidence in Pinhead. But I always think there's a lot of sadness in the character too. It's it's kind of layered. It's a layered character. And
it is.
Do you see Pinhead as evil? I know you said Heart of Evil and everything, but I've always felt in the first two movies he's more neutral.
I do think that he's. There have been some of the later sequels where
I think part 3 is really evil.
But he's there just because he's there. I don't remember which film it is. Maybe Hell World, where he chops a guy's head off in the basement. I'm not sure which film it is. And at that point, I'm like, this is a evil character chopping off a guy's head. Has nothing to do with sexual, has nothing to do with the first films. Pinhead has been different in different movies. It was with the third movie that they reinvented and sort of made it more of a slasher, so that the studio could, have more of a payday. I mean, we that's what happened with the character of Pinhead, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that's where they took the story. That's where they took the story of that character. But yeah, in the first two movies, he's completely neutral. He's just doing his job. He's a theologian of the Order of the Gash. He doesn't judge. Judgment, he doesn't. But he doesn't judge. You open the box. We're going to give you this gift that you've asked for. We like it. Hope you like it too, because we like the pain. I think that the script of Judgment has really gotten that back on track because of the exploration that Gary has done with this other faction, the Stygian. I don't remember the full name. Stygian. He's talked about it. But the auditor and the whole processing, that aspect of the movie. It's also, I think, gotten it back to the Clive Barker world, because it's gotten far, far away from anything that Clive Barker may have ever written. So I'm quite proud of it for that reason. But yeah, I think that, to answer your actual question, yes, Pinhead, the Hell Priest, is neutral. He's a neutral character. He should be a neutral character, simply doing his job. At the same time, he's got an ego, because when he went from the second movie to the third movie, he came back with an ego, and that's what happened. So he's in Judgment gotten sort of back to his origin, but at the same time, he's got that arrogance that has come from years and years and years and years of this power that he has, this position he has, and that's his downfall at the end of the movie, which I think is great. So yeah, it's a little of both. He is simply doing his job, but at the same time, how dare you come in here and tell me how to do my job?
Mm-hmm.
So it's a sort of a mixed answer there.
Yeah. But I like that. I agree, actually, 100%. Not just because you're here, but I like that it did get back to more of the Pinhead. I've said it, on the show before I booked you on the show or anything, and it's definitely, in my opinion, the best sequel for a long time. And I love all the new characters. I love the Auditor, and I forget John Gulager's name for his what his character's name is. But
he's the assessor.
The assessor. There you go. I was happy to see John. Yeah, I was happy to see John Gulager.
He's a great guy. I had
he's one of my favorite casts. Yeah. Oh, so you've worked with him before, John Gulager?
No, I didn't work with him in the movie. I've not worked with him on any other films. It's just that we were there at the same time, and we had breakfast at the hotel. That's all.
Yeah. All right.
He's super nice.
Yeah, he's man. I don't know if you've ever seen the Feast movies. I'm a big fan.
Of the Feast.
Yeah.
Those are insane.
Yes,
I love him, and I love the monster, and of course I love Gary's work because he's a master.
Yeah, definitely.
He is the master.
We'll get back to Pinhead one second. I just want to say, years ago I had another co-host here, John, and during the interview with John Gulager, he laughed because me and John were talking about monster penises and all these things, and he decided the show wasn't for him, I think. But
oh, were you talking about Rawhead Rex?
We were talking about Feast 2, I believe, because that's the one they never really bring attention to. Yeah, they just start to have penises, and I thought it was very funny.
Yeah, but like you do when you're a beast that procreates.
Exactly,
you gotta have a penis.
Right. It just makes it much more realistic. So, and I thought Gary was great as the Auditor. So what was?
Oh, I did too. He's wonderful.
Yeah, the look obviously is great, but he himself, I don't know if he's ever acted before, but he was
he
great.
Has. He's done some acting. He's been in some other films. And yeah, the sense of humor that the Auditor has. I mean, he's funny. Mm-hmm. He's kind of funny, and I think that's wonderful. That's a wonderful aspect to his character.
Yeah,
he's quirky and funny, and kind of a middle management guy who's a little bit maybe nervous, but he's just doing his work. And I used to tell people it was Office Space in Hell, but that seemed a little too, because it's not a comedy, so that wasn't really appropriate. But kind of that aspect of it is kind of like Office Space in Hell. Okay, I'm going to need you to get those forms to me right away, and I'm just going to take your stapler and I'm going to burn down the building. Anyway.
Yeah, and it's a dark humor that doesn't go over the top and make it, a silly, but it's totally there
at all. Yeah.
What was he like to work? Going.
Just a little chuckle, like when he's interviewing David, or Sean, when he's interviewing Sean, and he's like, oh, this is like no interview I've ever done before. No, this guy's challenging. Anyway, he was so cool to work with. I mean, he would show up a couple hours before I would, because every scene that I had, he was the Auditor. I mean, I think he's in every scene that Pinhead is in, except when I'm just sitting there on the throne. And so he would come in early to get his makeup done. So I'm being directed by the Auditor, which was really pretty fabulous. And then he'd pop in and do his work and do his scenes. And then he's like, okay, cut, back to directing. But he was so organized and so enthusiastic and positive that, there was no way that was going to be an unhappy set to work on. I mean, Gary knows what he's doing. Mm-hmm. He's done this he's a veteran, and he's directed many films before, and he knows exactly what he's doing. He knew he was extremely limited on budget and on time he had, so everything had to be precisely to the point. If he'd had more money and more time, the movie would have been richer with more images and maybe some more extended sequences. But he had to choose what he was going to really do. The big scene, he had, I think, 3 scenes where he put the most time into. And then the rest of the stuff, it's like, okay, this is the story, it's going along. Okay, now we can spend a day or two on this scene. Okay, now we're going to go along like that. And that's, that was just brilliant planning. So he was fun to work with. He was happy, and if he wasn't happy, I didn't see him being unhappy. He didn't allow no cell phones whatsoever on the set. Not only because we can't take pictures, but also just we don't need the distraction when you're working on a film with that type of a schedule. Like, no, we are here to make a movie. So that's a good rule. I hate multitasking. I hate the interruption of cell phones when you're trying to do a job. It really does mess with people's concentration. Anyway, that's beside the point. But it actually is a little bit to the point of the movie, when Sean goes off and like, oh, I hate this world with the cell phones and the technology and the da-da-da-da-da. Anyway, yeah.
Yes. I do have to. I know you've since talked to Doug Bradley.
Yeah.
But what I was gonna say though, when there was backlash when the movie was announced because of Doug not being in it, and he came out online about he wasn't gonna do it because he had to sign the no disclosure clause. So when that all happened though, like how did that affect you, and how so?
Well, it affected me in a negative way because I don't want that kind of that negativity. I mean, it was sort of unfortunate that there was this relationship that that Doug and Gary had for many years, and they still have the relationship, but there was some hurt. There was some hurt, and I don't know every detail of what transpired between them, and it's sad that it happened. I'm happy that it led to me getting to play the Hell Priest, of course. Sure. But as far as that went, I think that it was blown way out of proportion at the same time, because there are Doug Bradley has legions of fans with good reason. He created this iconic horror villain in this unique story that touched so many people, because it's about more than, it's not just a horror film. I mean, this Clive Barker's mind and Hellraiser and the whole point of it are biblical. I mean, they have to do with being in a physical body, with pleasure versus pain, with crime and punishment, with one person's pleasure is another person's pain. Sort of repeating myself there, but so I lost my train of thought. I do that a lot. Sorry, but what was unfortunate for me that I had to deal with was that I was warned, and I was going to that there were going to be some fans who were going to not be my fans and were actually going to, in a way, hate me because I wasn't Doug Bradley, something that no one could do anything about, but that was just the way it was. So I kind of went into it with a defensive posturing because it's a weird thing. It's normal for an actor to audition for a role and get the role and play the role, and the movie comes out and they played a role in a movie. Okay, da-da-da-da-da. Maybe they got noticed, maybe they didn't. It's a completely different thing and a weird, unnatural thing to inherit a role that has a cult following already. A friend of mine who's known me for years texted me when he found out that I'd gotten the part, and he said, "Congratulations on your instant cult status." And that was like so weird, and on so many levels it was strange, because yeah, okay, I've inherited this huge thing, and yet I didn't play the role originally, so it's kind of a mind fuck. It's kind of it kind of blows your mind to read something like that and go, "Oh my God, you're right." I mean, I'm not. The people haven't seen the movie yet, but I've already got a history with the movie when I haven't even learned my lines yet. It was bizarre. It was bizarre. So then we shoot the film, and for 2 years, I'm waiting for the movie to come out, and I'm reading stuff online, and I had to finally adopt a sense of humor about it and just go, people who call themselves fans of Doug Bradley are sometimes not going to be fans of Paul Taylor. That's fine. Some people are going to be nasty. Some people are going to be stupid. Some people are going to be lovely. But all I can do really is just shut out the negative, because all it's doing is shortening my life if I get, all wrapped up in that stuff. It's not healthy. It's not normal. It's not natural. And I'm all about walking in the grass with my shoes off. I don't want to get all caught up in that stuff, much as I want to be, Pinhead in a Hellraiser film, of course, and all that comes with that, which is really the coolest thing that's ever happened to me. The history that came with it has been really strange, but in the long run, really wonderful, because I'm getting to do conventions now, and I'm going to be meeting Doug Bradley in person at Texas Frightmare in May, and it's going to be really cool. So it's crazy. It's crazy. I'm finding out that now that the movie's come out, and a lot of people who were haters are crossing over and saying, we accept you as, if not the new Pinhead, a new Pinhead. Because there is a difference there. I'm not saying that I am now the guy, because there have been three of us, and it's just a character in a movie, and I happen to be played him this time. It's not negative for me anymore. It's become, this is the good. I've been worried about this for 2 years. The movie came out, people are liking it. That's the biggest, the most important thing to me. And now that those 2 years have passed, it's such a relief that now it's time to focus on the present moment and what's next. And I don't have to worry anymore about whether people are going to like the movie or not. Some people are gonna swear to never see the movie because Doug Bradley's not in it. That's their choice, and that's sad that people want to shut themselves off from maybe something they might actually enjoy, or might touch them, or they might get it because it's a good script. But right, there's nothing I can do about that. So sorry, that was a really long ass answer.
No, I think it's probably something that's an important part of your life. But you did, I know it's on your Facebook page that you did talk to Doug Bradley. You said on there that you don't want to go into details about it, but it was a pleasant experience.
Yeah, it was totally a private conversation, and but it was all about. He contacted me, and he just wanted to clear the air in case there was anything negative, coming from me or coming from him, so that the Pinheads could be at peace, because we're just having our lives here. We're just, one day at a time, just like everybody else. And people want to stir up drama. A lot of trolls want to stir up drama. A lot of just people who are in pain in their own lives for whatever reason, and like to see other people hurting. Those people exist, and so he's a very smart, funny guy, and I think I am too. And so we connected. We didn't talk for very long, but we will talk again at Texas Frightmare, and hopefully we'll make each other laugh and find common ground. And I think that's just so cool, because that's another thing that I've been worried about for 2 years. But yet it was my fondest wish that I would, when I met Doug Bradley, that we would hit it off. And now that I've seen this side of him in person, well, on a phone, on a Skype conversation, but now that we've actually talked face to face, as it were, I'm realizing that anything else that I've ever heard, I can just go, you know what, that's someone else's perception, and I don't have to buy into it for myself. I can only go with my own experience. So I'm just so happy that we had that conversation, and that I know that positive things are going on with this movie, and with what's happening with my career because of the movie. And that's a big deal to me. Really big deal.
Yeah, well, obviously I'm part of the horror community here, and there's a lot of people really like the movie, Of course, there's some people, like you said, that some of them weren't going to like the movie no matter what, or even see it no matter what. But and then there's a lot of real positive. I'm part of a Hellraiser group, and the highest, they had like a poll, and the highest one was between 4 and 5 stars for the movie.
Oh, that's great! Like That's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah,
it makes me feel so good when I hear stuff like that, because I don't want to be number 9 or number 10 in people's favorites.
Right,
you want to be at least at a 5.
Right. Well, this was out of 5.
Yeah.
So, it wasn't 4 or 5 out of 10. It was between 4 and 5 out of 5. But I do want to mention, like you mentioned it in May, I'll be there too at Texas Frightmare. And
good.
Yeah, so I'll say hello to you as well. And all the Cenobites will be there from the original 2 movies.
I know. I just bought Barbie's book. I want to have her sign it for me, her latest book.
Oh,
yeah, I can't wait to see them and meet Simon and just all of them. And I hope Clive makes it. I know he's scheduled to be there. So, it's amazing. I didn't think that I would. Huh?
I say he designed their T-shirt that they just put out. It's pretty awesome.
No, I got to get one of those. Yeah. I almost ordered one yesterday, and then I thought, maybe I should just ask the powers that be if they'll be giving me one of those.
Right.
But I have a feeling that I think those are going to go fast. I think they're going to sell out. Yeah, that is such a cool design. How often does Clive Barker design a T-shirt for Texas Frightmare?
Yeah, that's awesome.
That art is just terrifying and beautiful. God, I love his art so much. It's just so bizarre.
At a previous Texas Frightmare, they had this thing called the Dark Arts, and it was a bunch of artwork that was dark, and one of them was an original painting from Clive Barker they had there, and it was like really just bizarre. No, it might have been if you had enough money. I'm not sure, because my friend Annabelle had some art for sale.
Yeah, love the art.
Yeah, it was wild. And cheap plug for myself, if you see the nice banner from that Simon and Barbie Wilde have, I designed both of their banners. So.
Oh, that's so cool. Well, maybe I'll ask you to design mine. I mean, I have one now, and I like it, but now that the movie's come out, I can update it because I have more images I can use, better images.
Yeah, definitely. So we have some questions here from, I want to mention you're coming on the show here on Facebook. Robbie Scar wants to know, have you read the comics?
Oh, yeah. I've read the Pinhead comics, and some of I love them. They're a little too colorful for me because I like my Hellraiser to be dark, so I actually prefer the Boom comics to the Pinhead. But I have read all of the Pinhead comics because, I just had to. And some of those characters are so cool. I love Fan Dancer. I think my favorite is Perdition's Posse with the Old West. I think of all, which is pretty much the first. Feels like it's the first one they even go into. But the Mayan warrior Pinhead and it's so crazy. The Cro-Magnon Pinhead. It's so wild and sort of what I love about the Pinhead comics is that it is addressing. Well, it kind of changes the whole idea behind the Cenobites and what the whole point of Hellraiser is, and because there's a line, I don't remember which Pinhead says it. Which story in the comics it's in, but he says something like, Normality is that which cuts off the sixth finger and the tail, which to me is saying, normality is disallowing anyone to be unique and beautiful in their uniqueness. That's a great message, but it's not what the original Hellraiser was about, because it just seems like in the Pinhead comics they don't really. That's not about the sexual aspect of the S&M and pleasure versus pain. Mm-hmm. But I do love the Pinhead comics because they're so unique, and some of those characters are just so so wild, and the different ways they do Pinhead. I love Pinhead in the red Monsignor robe in Speak of the Devil with the jeweled pins, which are just like from the description in Hellbent Heart. And so, yeah, I've definitely read those comics. But my favorite, as I said, is the Boom comics, because the art is so beautiful. I think my favorite is the Jack the Ripper. Jack the Ripper as a Cenobite. I just think that's so crazy. But when I got cast in the movie, I was playing a minister in a play called Martyr, this really strange, dark German play, which had just been translated to English. In fact, we were one of the first productions in English in America, and that's when I got the part of Pinhead. And in something the flesh, Pursuit of the Flesh, that Boom book. On the first 3 pages, we see a minister giving last rites to a man who's on death row, and then in comes Pinhead, and he doesn't destroy the prisoner; he destroys the minister. And it was so wild, because that was like kind of what was happening in my life at the time, because I'm doing this play when I get this audition for Pinhead. So it was just so crazy to open that book and to go, yeah, this is bizarre. Here's what I'm playing now, and here's what I'll be playing in my next project. It was really, really cool. But yeah. I love the art in the Boom comics. Just, oh my God. Just so beautiful. And so Clive Barker-esque, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've definitely read the comics. Yes.
I assume you read the because you mentioned Hellbent Heart. You read the original material.
Yeah, it's wonderful. And I've read all 3. I mean, if you count the Toll, I mean, I know Clive Barker didn't write it, but it's from him in a way. I read Scarlet Gospels, of course, when it came out, and so yeah. But the Hellbound Heart is just so wonderful, and love it.
Yeah, and Barbie writes a lot about her character. I don't think it might not use the Cenobite name, but it's definitely the character. She's a great writer.
Definitely.
If you read her stuff.
Yeah, and I love seeing her in her character in so many of the comics as well. I mean, it's like, here's a story just about her, which is wonderful. Yeah. Because I wish that her character had gone on past the second film, because she's just fabulous. She's just fabulous. Maybe they'll bring her back. It might not be Barbie playing her, but maybe they'll bring back that character.
Yeah.
Sexy.
And I know, I know Nicholas Vince. He recently wrote the history. The I think it's in a comic book. I might be wrong there, but it's like the origin story of a Chatterer. So
I have not read that. If he sells that, I'm gonna look for it. But maybe he sells it at the conventions. I can just get a signed copy.
Exactly. Yeah, Nicholas.
I should have waited to buy Barbie's book. I mean, I'm sure she's selling it. It just came out. I'm sure she'll be selling it at the convention. But I went ahead and ordered it because I wanted to read it.
Yeah. So, yeah. Well, that'd be better, because then you can talk about it.
Yeah. Exactly. Yes.
It's
Mike chatting with the Chatterer, chatting with with Deep Throat. I wonder if he just dislikes that.
We talked about on the show. Go on, sorry.
Yeah. Like Pinhead would kill you in Scarlet Gospels if you called him Pinhead, because he's the Hell Priest. I just wondered if female Cenobite would feel the same way. But
yeah. I think she thinks just being called the female Cenobite's kind of lame. It's better if it has like some type of moniker to it.
Oh yeah, that's good. Did you say cunniling? That's awesome.
I did, but
I've never heard that before. That's perfect. Oh my God. Because we need to keep Hellraiser sexual. It's about sex. Yeah,
definitely. So a lot of people had asked about the future of the Hell, because I don't want to give away the movie, but it does obviously set up to continue. Are you like Do you know for sure if you're going to be part of the future of the Hellraiser franchise?
I do not know for sure. I have no idea. I know that there's positive talk, but until I have a script in my hand and a signed contract, until the studio or producer contacts me and says, "We're doing another one. We want you as Pinhead," I have no idea. All I know is that there's been positive talk about it, and that if Gary J. Tunnicliffe were to write another script to continue where Judgment left off, he has been talking publicly about how my character would fit into that story. So I hope that happens. It would be wonderful, and it would be wonderful. It's my fondest wish is to get to play Pinhead again.
Yeah.
But I have no idea what the big guys with the money are thinking or doing, or what's going on in that world. I'm an actor living in Dallas, Texas, who got a part in a movie, and everything that came with that part.
Yeah. Oh, well, I didn't even think about that. You live in Dallas, so Texas Frightmare that's going to be even more special for you.
Well, exactly. It made it really easy for them to say, "Yeah, bring him in." Yeah.
We don't have to fly him in. We just come in on the bus.
We don't have to fly him. We don't have to put him up in a hotel. I mean, a hotel would be nice, but I'm 35 minutes from the airport. I mean, that's where the hotel is, so it's not a big deal. In fact, might be good to just. Oh, who am I fooling? I'd rather stay in a hotel, but it's okay. It's okay. I'll have a table. I will be there, and I'll get to talk with Doug Bradley. So cool.
I might have an extra bed. You can have it if you like.
Maybe. Oh, yeah. You mind if I crash?
But for people who don't know, actually one of the real cool things about Texas Frightmare is that it's connected to the airport, so you don't have to worry about taking a taxi or an Uber. You can just walk right from the airport to the hotel.
Exactly. Yep.
It's a nice setup.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what do you have in the works?
I have a couple. I have a few movies that I've been talking about with some producers and some writers and directors. Some of them are local, going to be in the Texas area. I believe I will be going to LA in the summer to do a remake of Ghost House. All one word, not the 2-word Ghost House, but the 1-word Ghost House, and playing the Grim Reaper in that. I'm in talks to play a clown in a clown-themed horror film that I can't talk about. Okay. There's a movie I did last year, just a cameo, that's going to be coming out around the holiday season, called Sick for Toys. I have just a couple of lines in it as a cameo, but it's a Christmas-themed horror film that's good, that I've seen, and that is quite good and funny and sick and etc. Everything you want with your psychological sicko humans in horror movies, and some other stuff too. I have a friend named Derek who is a writer director, and he's already directed me in one thing several years ago, which was a TV pilot that never took off. But he has, over the years, done some films, and he's constantly working on new scripts. And there are a couple projects I'm going to be doing with him. I'm not exactly sure when they're going to be shooting. And there's some other smaller things that are TV series related and locally Texas related that I'm in talks with or have recently auditioned for that I feel very strongly about. So nothing, I don't have any contracts yet, but I do have verbal contracts with certain people, but I can't really talk about the projects because they're, they have to be protective of their property.
Sure.
I would love to talk about the clown film, but there's a lot of competition out there with clown movies, and I don't want to give anything away there. But I hope that one happens because I really want to play a badass clown. I just can't. I'm excited. Yeah. I mean, I know there are a lot of clown horror films out there, but let me do mine. Let me
Sure.
do mine.
There's a lot of them
Yeah.
because people like them. So,
People like him. The
Right.
movie Clown that happened, 2 years ago? I don't know how long ago, but where the guy actually became the clown because of the
I
clown
like that
costume.
movie. Uh-huh.
Oh my God, it was so good.
Mm.
And I was so jealous of that actor to get to do that. And it had aspects of The Shining to it, this descent into madness and that kind of thing. Just, I relish that. I really want to play some people who just descend into madness because madness is truly terrifying and interesting. And if you have empathy because you've created it because of a vulnerability, then the audience is hooked. And that's the kind of thing I want to do. Just to really get people, to chill people.
So you've always been a horror movie fan?
Yeah. Since I was a kid, but I didn't get to watch horror films. I wasn't allowed to watch them. But there was a particular Saturday night when I was a teenager or maybe preteen when Trilogy of Terror with Karen Black was on Saturday night at the movies for the first run. Yes. And I was terrified by that Zuni fetish doll. And nobody else was home. Everyone was on their dates, their Saturday date night things. I had my little pizza from Pizza Hut, and I'm watching this thing, and it just scared the shit out of me. And but there was something that happened to my heart, the adrenaline. I'm like, I like this. But I've also just always loved Halloween and everything, that whole season, and me getting to dress up and be scary and wear gross makeup or whatever, play a vampire, some sort of grotesque monster. And there's just something about getting to be scary when in real life you're just not. Because I played some creepy people, and I like to sort of weird people out and make them kind of skeeve out by just saying things in a creepy way because I think it's funny. A lot of people can't take it, but yeah, it's like, look, you know me. I would never act on any of these things. If I say it creepy, it's because I have a sense of humor, and I like the skeevy stuff. I think it's funny.
I agree.
Unless it's real. Unless it's real. Unless someone really means it, the real child molesters, the real, the real rapey Joes. Okay, no, this is not where I'm going with that. That's true horror. That is not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about making people feel uncomfortable. Now, these days, we have to be so PC and everything, and, in the workplace, that's not appropriate. It's like, yeah, but it's funny. Yeah, but it's you're making someone feel uncomfortable, so you have to be, we have to slap you down. We can't have that. I get it. I grew up a white male in the middle of America. I understand. I know what white privilege is. I know what white male privilege is. I understand that there's an imbalance there. I certainly get all of that. I'm not some insensitive boob who's just like, yeah, I should be able to say anything I want in public. No, you shouldn't. But what I'm saying is, I think it's fun to just sort of give something a little sort of creepy edge when you say it, and to make people just go, oh, it's fun.
I agree. I agree 100%. And a lot of it's intent. If you're just intending to make someone uncomfortable in a funny way, is different than if you're intending to actually act on it as.
But there are those sensitive folks out there who just can't take it and are going to go to management and say, Paul made me feel uncomfortable. You need to write him up, or whatever happens, the scenario happens to be. It's like, oh, come on. I have been accused of being a bully, and I think there are so many different ways of bullying that it's become this very fine line where it's like, well, I wasn't actually bullying you. I was maybe teasing you because I don't know, you use the word like too much, or you sound like a valley girl, or gosh, who could I be talking about? Sorry. Oh my God. I'm actually talking about a real person. I should stop. At least I'm not saying his or her name. But I'm so not a bully.
All right.
Anyway, no, I just went off. I'm just like rambling.
That's all right. You don't sound like a bully to me.
I'm totally not.
And I'm Nasty Neil, so that's an authority, I assume.
Yeah.
We do have another question here, but it kind of goes into the end of the movie, so I don't know if you want to give too much away. But I'll ask.
I think it's too soon.
Spoiler alert. All right, we'll save it for if you come back.
Okay.
Because we don't want to spoil the movie, because I don't think everyone's had a chance to see it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's too soon to talk about what happens, I think.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, we can hint around it, but I don't know. I'll go too far. I'd rather not.
I think it's the particular question would be a little, but thank you, Jesse. That is a good question. Well, I'll try to say so. He just wants to. What do you think about the angel character in the movie? But he went more into depth, so I won't say.
I think it's great that was introduced as an aspect of the Hellraiser universe, because really Hellraiser is religious anyway, and I know that Leviathan is a fictitious thing. Of course, if you really want to get into it, the Bible is also a piece of fiction, but many would argue. So, we create these characters. Oh man, I said that about the Bible, and now I just threw myself completely off. I think this is interesting because in the Scarlet Gospels, Clive Barker has also introduced a heaven and hell aspect, and a lot of people didn't ever see that in the first Hellraiser because it wasn't there, because this other universe had been created, Leviathan, etc., the Order of the Gash. This was all fictitious stuff that he wrote that was wildly creative. But I think the character, having the conflict from Jophiel and from the power above come into Judgment, I think it's a great thing, because the franchise has been suffering for years and has had some films that didn't attempt to further the actual storyline of this hell that we are dealing with. We've just had these human stories that injected an appearance by Pinhead, and and some of the other Cenobites, and it really didn't further it. So I think having the introduction of this intervention, this power that is higher than Leviathan, that is, I guess, I don't know, we don't really address that, but definitely higher than Pinhead, and saying you can't do that, and here's your judgment. I think it was fabulous, and the way the movie ends, which I won't go into details, but the way the movie does end, it really sets up some possibilities for more examination of that, and to actually further the franchise in an interesting, productive way, where we are actually examining that world rather than just coming up with another story that involves the Cenobites, making it a possibility that it can be a story about the Cenobites. Now, Gary Tunnicliffe has said that his philosophy about a Hellraiser script is you need a good human story, and I agree with that, and that the Cenobites are just frosting on the cake. But if you have a character who perhaps used to be a Cenobite and now has been like at the end of the second movie, what if Elliot Spencer hadn't died but that had actually just been returned to human form? Then you could examine that. What's his journey now that he's not a Hell Priest anymore? I mean, if that had ever happened in any Hellraiser movie that had ever been made in the history of Hellraiser. Did you like how I phrased all that? Anyway, I just think that the whole Jophiel thing opens this new thing to be examined. I mean, you could even go with turning Jophiel into a hell priestess. It really and that relates to the comic books. I mean, there's so many possibilities out there. As I said, it's a work of fiction. You can do anything with it. You're creating it as you go. That's what fiction is all about. So we don't have to go with, no, it's never been like that before, so we can't have it like that now. Well, that's bullshit. I mean, of course we can. We're making it up as we go along anyway. There are certain tropes that we do need to stay with.
Those rules,
but yeah, there are certain rules, but that doesn't mean that they can't be enriched with more storylines and looking deeper into these things. So I think Jophiel's fabulous.
I agree. It just
and she's actually biblical. I mean, she was a real angel. You know, Gary didn't just make up this character. I mean, okay, as I said, maybe the Bible's a work of fiction, maybe it's not, but she's in the Bible. That's what she did. She did, you know, banish the Adam and Eve. She did watch the incestuous ark builders and all that stuff. Anyway.
Yeah.
So,
and
cool.
I think it is too. And I've had a great time talking to you. I know you have to go, so I'll wrap this up. But love to have you back sometime.
Oh my God. Go to my day job.
All right.
My life is so glamorous. But thank you. This has been great fun, Neil.
Yeah, I had a great time.
You're fun to talk to.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And we'll do it again sometime, or maybe we'll do it in Texas.
All right.
All right.
All right. Cool. Yeah, I'll see you at Texas Frightmare.
Yep. Good time. And people can find you at paulttaylor.com. And you can find you on Facebook.
Yes,
too.
I am at paulttaylor.com. They can find me on Facebook as well. Yeah, I have a Facebook fan page that's Paul T. Taylor at Popo Herman, and that's a long story. I won't go into it, but they can certainly find me there. I've got Instagram. I've got Twitter. It's you know, it's all, if they want to find me, they can find me. It's not that hard. I'm the real Paul T. Taylor. So there you go.
Sounds good. All right. Well, thanks again, and have a good day.
Thanks, Neil. You too. Take care.
Thank you. You as well.
Bye.
Bye.
This is John Gulager, and you're listening to WithoutYourHead.com.